Hello, in this video we're going to go over joints and the basics of rigging. And to demonstrate this, I'm just going to rig up a little cylinder and show you how individual joints can affect geometry. So joints affect verts. They don't necessarily affect polygons. The verts are the things that are affected. When you're creating joints, you want to create them in a front view, not a perspective view or an isometric view. It's best to create them in a front view or a side view or something. This is because, similar to when we're making curves, you can't really control exactly the 3D space that it's going to be created in. All right, so to create a joint, let's go to the joint tool, create joints. I'm just going to go into the option box right now just to show you some of the settings. You can change the short bone length. The radius is somewhat important. If you're doing like full body, you're going to want to see the joints a little bit bigger. 1.5 is good. If you're doing hands, you'll probably want 0.5. So we're set there. Now I'm going to hold down X, and X will snap it to the grid. So there's one joint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so here is our simple little rig. I'm going to open up this hierarchy. I just held down Shift and I clicked on that plus sign. And there's the root, and there's the child, and there's the child and the child. So this root parent-child, joints work in a parent-child relationship. They're all rigged together. So the lowest child can be moved around by itself, just like that. And the higher child can be moved down and will affect all the children going below it. And then, of course, if we get to the bottom right there, to the parent, everything moves together with it. This can be changed, however, if you want. When you're rigging the character, you can turn on Preserve Children, and that way I could go into this spot and just move that around like so. But in general, you kind of want to keep that off, and I got that by double-clicking on this little icon over there. All right, so we'll create a cylinder. So here's our cylinder, and move that up. Look at it in the front view. You'll notice also that this cylinder is covering up the joints. So whenever you're rigging something, you want to go to Shading, X-ray Joints, and that will make the joints show through the geometry. So I want to make it so that the joints are pretty much cover everything. Just the end joints are the things that are sticking out. Now, like I said, the things that are affected are verts. So with this, if I were to rig this right now, the only thing that would move would be the top and the bottom. So I have to tessellate this more, probably give it like 10. That's good. And I'm just going to make it a little bit wider, just to give you a nice idea of what's going on here. All right. So now I'm just going to, if we look at this here, we look at our joints. This joint, when we rig it, is going to affect, this joint in particular, when we rig it, is going to affect these verts all along here. And this one over here is going to affect all the close verts over here. This one, like so. Now, what also can happen is that when you get closer to the middle, over here, we have, it will have 50%. You can draw it. 50. Okay, it's not going to do it. 50% strength on this. So both of these joints over here are going to be affected, are going to affect these verts in the middle. And you'll see what I mean when I bind this. So if I go over to, I have to first close that. So this is how you bind. You hold down on the root of the rig, and then you control click on your geometry. And when you do that, you go over to Skin, Bind Skin, and Option Box. You don't always have to do it. If you get settings that you like, you can stick with it. And the basic is good. Geodesic voxel is the best. I've noticed it's newer with, I don't know, like 2012 and past. It makes it so that you don't have to paint the weights quite as much. It thinks a little bit smarter. And we'll go into paint weighting in a bit. So now we're just going to click on Bind Skin. It thinks about it, and we're all set. So here we go. We'll go into perspective view. Now, if I click on this one, and you'll notice also that the binding was successful because there's different colors for the joints. And then we can go like this, and then it moves. We can click on this one, and that one moves as well. So that is how you rig a very small object. So when we rig a character, it's going to be just in a larger fashion, a lot more verts to think about. So there can be issues also with rigging, that things might not work well. Things might, the weights might be a little bit off. And let's see, this one's pretty good. Sometimes what you can see is, yeah, I can do that too, is at the bottom it might not fully get all of the weights for this last joint. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to go into the painting weights tool, and let's see here, paint skin weights. And here is our painting skin weights tool. Not the most fun tool in the world, but it's good. So I use a UV, a color ramp. Oh, I forgot, I actually have to click on the geometry. Paint skin weights. There we go. Okay, so now what you're looking at is looking at the effect that the joints have on the object itself. And I can click through this and you can see how things are affected. So when it's white, that's when it's most affected. When it's red, it's going down. When it's blue, it's not at all. So you can see that this joint here mostly affects everything here, but since it's cool up there, it's not affecting it at all. And you can change and you paint on them with the brush tool here. You can see that when I'm over it, that it has a little circle around that. You can change the size of that by holding down B, and you see the icon changed, moving to the left and moving to the right. So that's how you change the accuracy of it. Now say I wanted to really make this space over here only associated with this joint. Opacity, I'll probably add value, increase, and I'll go over here and I'll just paint right there. And you can see now that is thoroughly only affected by that one tool, or that one joint. Just paint like that. And then if I go over here, you can see that it's looking pretty good. It looks all right. And there's not much of an issue there because there's no other joints around. That's looking all right. So yeah, that's the basics of skinning a skeleton, and we'll get into doing a full rig in the next video.